These guys are like us. They talk straight and know the real deal.
I'm Vito Fasella. Table Talk is going to be about what you have to say, not what we have to say.
I'm John Tobacco, lifelong Staten Islander. I spent 25 years on Wall Street. I've been in the back rooms, I've been in the boardrooms, and I've been in the ballrooms. I've seen it all.
The dishonest media got it wrong.
What do people think in Germany about Trump?
The baddest person in the world, like this, yeah.
That's what your
Just,
media in Germany tells you.
Just like this.
The people got it right.
Was there one issue in particular that stood out?
He was the person who always stood for the people of America.
Now, Vito and Tobacco are talking to America unfiltered and raw.
With no spin on it.
All right, come on in. There's all wine, beer, whatever you want. If you don't sing it, then go somewhere else.
Well, I tweet now because of Trump.
That's what this show is all about.
Join the guys on the road to the inauguration.
For too long, the American people have been ignored. For too long, the American people feel like their voice is not being heard. On Table Talk, your voice will be heard.
That was good.
That was good.
Listen, I just want you to just discuss, where the idea of the show came from.
Oh, I think people are just fed up with the media. They're just tired of hearing slant from both sides, and people are just looking for some real, true, straight talk.
It was a phenomenon this year, probably one of the greatest, again, political upsets in American history, and it shook up the world. And the question is, why? What really happened? Donald Trump spoke for them.
How did the media miss it? And we kind of just started talking about, why don't we just go out there, two regular guys, we're just gonna talk to people straight. And we're gonna present to America some views from right here in Staten Island, New York, that seem to carry out across all of America.
I'm washing my hands from the balls. Get my good side.
I got both sides.
Both sides are good.
Staten Island is a microcosm of America. The last two elections, it went for Barack Obama. This election, it went for Donald Trump. On the road to the inauguration on Newsmax TV, we're gonna sit at the table. We're gonna have table talk with regular folks and hear what's important to them, what Trump tapped into that changed the course of the last election. Now, Donna, what's the first course tonight for table talk?
We are going to have a beautiful antipasto and have great conversation and delicious Italian food.
Did someone come in the door in the middle of that?
Who did?
I don't know, I heard.
Yeah, what the hell? Who squeaked the door? My daughter.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Usually when you see Staten Island, New York on TV, it's being shed in a light that doesn't really represent us. And I hope tonight we got the right group of people together that can show that Staten Island is a hell of a lot more than a bunch of people on TV doing crazy things.
And I know, speaking for the last year or so, many of them said there's no way Donald Trump wouldn't win. So I'd like to hear from each of you. Just give us a sense of what happened.
I never doubted that he would not win, because I just felt strongly that the American people have had enough of what was happening in this country.
I felt he was going to win the whole time too. But my feeling came from, I had a niece that went to Central Michigan University. So I got to go to Muncie, into Michigan and stuff, and I met, people from all these areas, and regardless of their color or their, religion, everybody was out of work. So everybody goes, what drives it? And it's jobs. People want to work.
Let's go around the horn one time and just throw in your thoughts on the Electoral College. Because there was a lot of discussion, is it good, is it bad, who won the popular, who didn't, should the Electoral continue?
I don't know enough about it. I don't
Okay.
know.
All right. Okay.
I'm
No,
being
I'm glad.
honest.
You know what?
I
I'm
don't
glad
know
you
all
said
the
that.
nuts and bolts to it. I know of it. I know about it.
There's no debate here.
Right.
Hillary won the popular vote, but Donald Trump is our president. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? You
As
know
long
what
as
I mean?
Donald Trump won, I could care less.
Okay.
I mean, let's say it like it is.
It supports our federal system because we have 50 states. You know, we want to make sure that there's not one state where the floodgates open up, where there are not a lot of illegal aliens that are voting.
I believe, as a uniform person, you need an ID for everything. If I stop you, I want to see ID. You can't even get into Costco without an ID, but you can vote without an ID. As a matter of fact, I went to the voting booth, and they said, "Oh, we don't have your name. Here's an affidavit." Took the girl 2 seconds to give me an affidavit. And I said, "No, my name should be there. Can you look?" She didn't find it. I went to another school, and they found it. Because I was there for 30 minutes saying, "You have to find my name."
How'd they find it?
So this affidavit thing, any Mary Jo Smith can walk in, and they'll say, "Here's an affidavit." And then she signs it and says, "Hey, I promise that I'm Mary Jo Smith. If you're going to do it, you're going to have to do it the right way, just like most things." But I can guarantee you that there was a few votes that should have never counted.
Oddly enough, what you mentioned about the voter fraud now, you know, you have to fact check everything, and I really didn't, but I did see one thing where they said there was a district in Detroit where more Democrats voted Democrat than there are registered Democrats in that
Well,
district.
there you go.
So, you know,
Simple
that's something
arithmetic.
that's something that needs to be fact checked, and I'm throwing it out there because that goes right to the heart of it. I mean, then there is voter fraud.
When you heard build the wall to keep out drugs and keep out criminals, was that one of the first things that kind of got you thinking, hey, this could be my guy?
That's the law. The law was never enforced. What I want to know is why were some people shocked and taken aback when they heard him say build a wall?
Yeah, it's.
To me, it was like a
common
logical
sense.
thing. If the law's
It
not
should've
being
been up a long
enforced,
time
you
ago.
have to come up with another deterrent.
Without borders, you don't
Right.
have a nation.
That's right.
And that's the whole thing. We haven't been enforcing our borders. The biggest thing that drew me about the wall is what Trump said at the beginning. It's going to stop drugs. It's going to stop firearms. Just forget about the people. The drugs, most of the heroin, and we're in Staten Island, we're in the middle of an epidemic,
Yes.
the epicenter. The heroin isn't getting grown in Iowa. The best way to stop that is to stop the supply.
Now we're enjoying some dessert and some final conversation. And one topic, and perhaps the final topic that I'd like to discuss, is political correctness.
Well, that, Vito, is a very hard question to answer with one word. Well, I can think of one word, but it's not good for television. I never went along with political correctness. I think it's a waste of time. I think it's making us into people that we really aren't. And I just think it's a crock of you know what. Everybody's afraid to get offended and whatever. You know what? Be offended. Figure out why you're offended. Think it through. And come out the other side, and you might learn something. And don't be so thin-skinned and sensitive. There's only one Super Bowl winner, and there's only one Miss America. This is your time as a parent to do your parenting and teach your child that you can't always win.
I think Trump flipped that whole political correctness on its ear.
Yes.
Rich, what do you think?
You know what? I understand what it was meant, the kernel of political correctness and this aspiring to be better in our political discourse, and I agree with that. I agree we have to do a little bit better. But the point when you have people becoming you're offensive police. That's offensive. That's offensive. That's offensive. Well, you know what? You know what's offensive? Children in Aleppo getting bombed to death. That's what's offensive.
Exactly.
And when people realize that there are other problems in this world that we have to worry about, other than, well, did I say the right thing when I said Happy Holidays or Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah? I have to worry about people actually dying or life and death decisions. Let's worry about those decisions first.
Right.
As a country, you know, as a people, as a culture, let's worry about those important decisions before we worry about whether somebody was offended.
Right.
In other words, you could say a million great things, but if you say one factual thing that nobody wants to hear, they can shut you down,
Not
and that will
politically
become you know who determines what's correct or incorrect? The media does,
Right.
and they pick on politicians all day long with that.
Yep.
It's a form of censorship.
I just want to say thank you to all of you for coming out tonight and just sharing a good conversation around your kitchen table.
You're watching Table Talk. We'll be back right after this.
Hey, this is Derek Tobacco. I'm at Joyce's Tavern, the oldest and greatest Irish restaurant in Staten Island. All right, Joe, so what do we have cooking up in the kitchen over here?
This is the Reuben. You need to try it. Rye bread, corned beef, sauerkraut, and sweet potato fries.
Delicious. And then we have the Irish nachos. Irish nachos. Why are they called Irish nachos?
Potatoes. It's all about the potatoes.
Right.
You got the hand-cut regular French fries, you got the sweet potato fries, you got pico de gallo, and then cheese.
Awesome.
If you're gonna come here once and you wanna try it once, this is what you gotta get. Earlier we were at Donna Fagan's house, we're hearing from the people. Now we're gonna hear from the pundits. With us today are John McLaughlin, who was one of the top pollsters in the country, and Donald Trump's top pollster who predicted the election.
And Joe Borelli is the co-chair for the Donald Trump campaign here in New York.
The first issue that we're gonna jump into was probably one that galvanized most people out of the gate, the wall. John?
When he stepped down and he said that he was going to make immigration a big issue, it resonated beyond the Beltway. It's something where the average working class people don't feel things are going in their direction. They feel jobs are going away from them. They feel that drugs are coming over this border. And it's not just the wall in Mexico. It's people coming to JFK Airport, overstaying their visas, and taking jobs away from working people.
Look, he put things in a way that the average Americans could understand. We all know immigration is an issue, but Donald Trump just put it in plain English. We should build a wall to prevent people who shouldn't be here from getting here. And that's the kind of simple messaging that resonated with people here in Staten Island and around the country. A lot of people had the same reaction like I did. Why didn't someone else think of that? Or why isn't it the case now? What do you mean there's no wall?
Most regular guys are like, when you hear about immigration, we should just build a friggin' wall.
Right.
Right? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's that simple. And Trump tapped into, these binary things in people, like build a wall and, take it one step back. Make America great again.
When we asked, would you want to continue Barack Obama's policies or do you want to change and move in a different direction, they said 57-34 across the country they want to change it.
But speak about the wall. One thing that apparently was thrown over the wall was political correctness. What are your opinions on so-called political correctness in the last year or so, Joe?
The Democratic Party has taken this concept of political correctness and run amok with it. And you take an issue like we just spoke about, like the wall, like immigration. There are legitimately two sides to this argument on immigration. And one party can't brand the other party racist or xenophobic for raising valid concerns about why we don't have a wall put up or why we don't have stricter border policies. The left, in this narrow time of the Obama administration, has put a vice grip on free thought and free speech for anyone that disagrees with them.
People felt like they were so refreshed when Trump started saying things like build a wall, make America great again, say Merry Christmas again.
And it was a perfect contrast against Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Even in New York, when we asked about Hillary Clinton, 6 out of 10 voters say she's dishonest and lies. And Trump, you may like him, you may not like him, but you thought he was telling it like it is. So that was the number one thing that would come back from the voters, that he's so honest, I know where I stand with him.
Earlier at the Fagan house, we talked about the Electoral College. And before the campaign, it was you have to accept the results, and everything. Right. After the campaign, there are protests, recounts, everything imaginable.
I think if you look back historically in the past 50 or so years, there has been talk from both parties when they've lost about reforming the Electoral College. We saw this obviously in 2000 with the first Bush win. I think a lot of it is sour grapes from the Democratic Party. The rule book was there for us all to see before the election. You knew going into that race what each candidate had to do to win the race. It didn't matter if you won a separate game. That said, if there needs to be a fair discussion of reforming the Electoral College, let's have it. But let's also be clear that most of this discussion is about the Democratic Party trying to undermine the results.
We put the topic out to regular people and said, hey, what do you think about the Electoral College? And they said, I don't know enough about it. I don't know what the Electoral College really is, because it's kind of wonk stuff for politicians. Did you do any post-polling talking about people's awareness of the Electoral College?
Yeah, well, we did about the results of the election.
Right.
And 2/3 of the American people, almost 7 in 10, say Clinton and the Democrats should agree to accept the results because Trump won. And they don't want to see these protests.
Do we have some background noise?
It's a Clinton protest. But the reality is people accept the results.
And along those lines, people concerned about the vote itself. Voter fraud has been an issue on a regular basis.
Well, Joan was an NYPD officer and she was talking about how if you stop anyone, they better have ID on them. How could it be that you need an ID to go in Costco, but you don't need an ID to go vote? Is that something that, is still an issue, Joe?
Yeah,
for
I mean,
us?
voter ID laws, especially in a state like New York, which the Democratic Party, again, just refuses to pass any sort of meaningful electoral, sanctity measures. It's a problem. Do I think voter fraud exists on the level that it's going to somehow undermine or change the results of an election? Not in a presidential race, but when you talk about the local city council races, the town judges, those are races where 100, 200 votes can actually matter. Those are races where a busload of people could actually change the outcome.
The overarching issue in most elections is always about the economy and jobs. What was the reaction among voters with respect to who was better for the economy and jobs?
Well, the reason the economy worked for Trump and they thought he was better is because it hasn't worked for the last 8 years under Barack Obama. And if we're going to succeed in the midterms, we need the economy to grow. We need those jobs. There's 3 counties where we really got our electoral majority, and it was in York, and Lancaster, and Pennsylvania. It was in Waukesha in Wisconsin, and it was also in Macomb County in Michigan. We don't create jobs. Those voters stay home. We lose the next election. There was an overall sentiment that things weren't going well. The country's on the wrong track. We're in an economic recession. These people have thought we've been in a recession, haven't come out. They don't hear what Wall Street is saying. They don't care if the Dow's at 19, 20,000. What they care about is the kid can't find a job. He's in his 20s or he's just out of high school. And guess what? Trump could relate to that. And he was basically saying they were going to stop it.
Well, guys, John McLaughlin, Councilman Joe Borelli, it's been great here at Joyce's Tavern.
We'll be back right after this. We're back on the Newsmaker segment tonight in the road to the inauguration. You're watching Table Talk on Newsmax TV. And in the news for some time, former New York State gubernatorial candidate, co-chair of Donald Trump's campaign here in New York State. On the line, joining us tonight in the Newsmaker segment, it's Carl Palladino. Thanks for giving us a few minutes.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you, Carl.
So, Carl, I know you're down there in Epcot, and perhaps you should take a walk over to Fantasyland, or just wait till you get to Washington in a few weeks, and that'll be a nice step up from Fantasyland.
It's so true. I mean, what we're seeing, the reaction of those that were vanquished in the election is just pathetic, and it's fantasy.
Now, Carl, you were with Donald Trump almost from day one, if not before. How would you describe and explain what truly happened, not just in Western New York, but across the country?
Well, from my perspective, it was a candidate that came on the scene at the right time in the right place to answer the frustration and anger of the middle class of America. And they got on the bus. And no matter what you said about this candidate, there was nothing that would make those people get off the bus. And the press, they continued to deceive themselves, thinking that all of their mischaracterizations of him, all of their lies and fantasies, that they were throwing out there was going to influence those people. And they were so wrong.
Hey, Carl, when I heard you say a line that caught my attention when you said the Democrats want to keep the minority kids undereducated and dumb so that they can support the machine. Can you elaborate on that a little more?
Well, it's my observation that in our urban centers across the country, we have dysfunctional urban school districts because we have monopolistic relationships between black and minority leadership and the teachers' unions. I think Donald Trump's plan is going to make a great intrusion into it by giving kids real choice and allowing these minority kids in the urban centers, to live a successful life and to live the American dream.
Well, Carl, we're going to let you go back and enjoy Epcot, so we don't want to take any more time away.
I try to keep a low profile, fellas.
He's keeping a low profile right now.
Fair enough.
Carl, thanks for giving us a few minutes, and hopefully we'll see you again on the road to the inauguration. Bye-bye. The road to the inauguration continues next week.
He doesn't give a f***. It's not affecting his life.
He's a tweeter now. You watch Table Talk on Newsmax TV.